everyone, it's Laura. Today I thought we could do a studio tour. Recently my craft room studio, it was quite the mess. And you know how it is, as creatives, we tend to just make huge messes. Anyway, so it was quite the mess, and then I was running out of storage spaces for everything, and so my husband made some new furniture and storage items for me. And so in order to get those into my craft studio, we had to tear the whole studio apart basically, and put it all back in and back away. So now that my craft studio is pretty clean and organized, it was organized before, but now it's like pretty. I thought I would do a quick walkthrough of my studio and show you guys how it's all set up and how I store things. I'm not going to do a detailed studio tour where I show you what's in every single drawer and what's in every single box, because that would take a really long time. If you are interested in me doing that, leave me a comment below and I will see about doing that, because that would definitely be one of those video 1, video 2, video 3, or something along those lines, because it would take a really long time. But because it was such a mess and now it's all pretty, I thought I'd do a quick walkthrough. I will insert pictures right here of how my craft room looked before we started this whole process. So here you go. And so now it looks much better. So we're going to get a look at that here in just a second. I do need to let you know that I have a lot of supplies. A lot. I do have a crafting business, and so I use these supplies in my business. But I have also been crafting for years and years and years. And because I tend to jump around from medium to medium to medium to medium to medium, I have a big variety of the types of supplies that I use. I also hold on to things even if I'm not currently using them. I tend to not let supplies go, because I eventually will make my way all the way back around to using that medium again. And so rather than purchasing things all over again, I just hold on to them. So I have a lot of supplies. I did not just go out and buy them yesterday. I didn't just buy them because they're, super cool and on trend or anything like that. These are, you'll see, I have a lot of supplies, but they do all get used just sporadically, like kind of today I'll work on sewing, and the next day I'll work on painting, and the next day I'll work on paper crafting, and the next day I'll work on beading. It kind of, I'm all over the map on things like that. So I have supplies for every type of different medium. Anyway, let's get to the tour. Thanks. Okay, so we are standing outside my craft studio. There's the door leading in. Some of you who have possibly been on Disney cruises will know what these are. Those are called FEs. You hang them outside your cruise cabin door, and people leave surprises in them for you. So I make these. I've also found that they are very, very useful in the craft room and in the pantry and various other places around the house. So if you're interested in those, I do make them, and you can find a link to special order on my website, which is scrambledcraftybrain.com. Anyway, so this is my door. It used to be a bedroom, and then it was a playroom. So the floor got totally stained as a playroom, and then we decided to use it as my craft rooms, because if I spill any art supplies, it's not going to hurt anything because the floor is already stained. So anyway, there's that. Right over here is where my Cricut is. I'm not going to show you the rest of the area because this is a dumping ground for things we don't want people to see. So when we clean up the house, when somebody's coming over, it all gets dumped right here. But in these drawers are all of the Cricut supplies, like vinyl and iron-on and all of that, my mats and everything like that. And then I also have drawers where I keep all of the cards that I've made. So let's go ahead and head in. And ta-da! We are here. Okay, so I am using my cell phone for this, so I will try to keep it as, I don't know, smooth as possible, but I can't guarantee it. So this is what you see when you first walk into my studio. And this right here is what my husband just made me for storage and a work surface. And it is huge. I'll back up a little bit. It is absolutely huge. I love it. So in order to get it in here, we had to pull a whole lot of stuff out. So anyway, this table here, I don't even know how large it is. This black mat is what, 35 by, I want to say 46. Let's take a look here real quick. Yeah, 46, 47. So the mat itself is actually really, really big, and you can see that it doesn't take up the entire table. It's also up really high. I tend to stand when I craft, and so I want everything to be right at about elbows height for me. So all of my counters and my table are all that high. So I'm going to kind of pan around here a little bit so you can see a little bit more. And we'll start in one corner of the room and go all the way around. Okay, so here's the door that I just came in. And on the back is where I store my punches. And behind the door I have a step stool, which definitely gets used because I try to use as much as I want. Right here I plan on putting little shelves in there to store thread and paint by color. So that eventually that space will be used up. There's my dress mannequin, my pirate lady. So my pirate hat too. I love my pirate hat. Isn't it pretty? And a purse that I made. So moving on, above my workbench there, I have ceiling. Oh, I have storage all the way up to the ceiling. And so here is 8.5 by 11 paper. Those are experiments that I've tried and I'm not sure whether I like or not. This is my little book. It's going to be moved when I find a better home for it. This has all of my color swatches for my paints and pencils and stuff like that. These are all storage boxes that have a whole bunch of items in it. I'm not going to pull them all down. That right there is alpha stickers and letters. This right here is, let's see, it is, what do you call that, tie-dyeing stuff. I wanted it up and away from my kids so that they don't come and steal it and try to do it on their own. These are all findings and jewelry findings and metal pieces and wood pieces and stuff like that. These right here are all stickers. Those right there are wood stamps. Those are wood stamps. These are clear stamps and clear stamps. And more clear stamps that I haven't organized yet. Various types of duct tape. There's my scoreboard there. These are my stamp positioning tools and some art supplies up in here. Like, what do you call them? Like artisan markers and fancy colored pencils and watercolor paints and things like that. Same with this over here. Those are all art supplies like watercolor paints and various art supplies. So like really nice fancy pencils and watercolor pencils and things like that. Those right there are sequins. That's how I organize my sequins. And then these right here are drawing books and journals and things like that that I use. And then down along here we've got washi tapes and stuff like that, and some glues. I've got my coffee, which is very, very important with water. This is kind of where I do like a planning area. And then I've got all of this back here. These are all alcohol markers, and then these are all different types of pens and markers that I use. These are drawing pencils. Those are pre-cut cardstocks and watercolor paper. In here is like fine drawing things, like kneaded erasers and special sharpeners and stumps and blending tools and things like that, as well as that's where I keep magnets and let's see what else, magnets and Velcro dots and things like that for paper projects. Down here is where I keep experiments I'm currently working on. In there is where my heat tool is and my glue gun, and you can see I have my cord coming out right there for my cell phone to charge it. This is all bling and flat back pearls. Those are inks right there. Those are like weird scraps for like I cut down ribbon, and so I have a few inches left of ribbon, and they all go in there. I use this for mixed media stuff, so like weird little scraps of paper, or I painted something and then punched something out, and so what's left over goes in there, so I can use it for mixed media. These are all ink right there. That is just paper scraps, like white and black paper scraps. And then let's see here, what else do we have? Back in this corner back here is another one of these spin things. So I have glitters in there, I have stickles in there, I have perfect pearls and things of that nature are all in there. This jar right here are my most used tools, and these are more of my most used tools right there. And let's see, these are all gel pens back here. These are all acrylic paints back in there. And then I have, this used to be a DVD holder that I have repurposed. So up there I got a picture of my hubby and I when we got married, and some gifts that were given to me all in here. These are all beads or brads or things of that nature. This is all painting, like Nouveau, what do you call those things? My mind is not working for me today. Let's actually just go ahead and get closer. So it's like acrylic paints and things like that, and mousses and stuff like that. And then these are all mediums of different types. And then lots and lots and lots of paintbrushes right there like that. More mediums right down in there. Those are sprays. These are indie ink of various colors. So those are my Bombay inks. And here are more different types of mediums, like gel sticks, and you know, my gel plates in here, and kids pastels, and you know, lots of stuff like that, different paints and things in there. And then in here are like spray bottles and coffee filters and glue sticks and sponges and towels and things like that. I'm going to back up again so that you can have a better view of where we are at. So that's everything in this area right over here. Kind of come a little bit closer so you can see some of this stuff here. This is where I hang my phone from when I'm recording videos. So it takes a little bit to get it kind of set up and I cannot see what I'm recording. So I have to like pre-set it up and hope that everything is in view. See, that's my storage for my sequins. I have some books there where I kind of keep everything for brush offs and stuff like that. So there we go. And these are more inks right here. Just tons and tons and tons of storage here. So I am currently in the process of converting my stamps from, you know, the packaging that they come in into categories that my brain actually thinks of. So I don't think about brand, I think about the subject. So for me to find a butterfly stamp out of all of the stamps that I have, I would have to flip through every single one just to find all of the different butterflies to find the particular one I want. So instead, I've pulled all of the stamp sets apart so that I can put them, categorize them in an order that my brain thinks of. So I'm looking for butterflies. All of my butterfly stamps are in the same spot. So I am still converting from packaged to my organization. So these are all sentiments, these are all images. So I'm still in the process of doing that. And then we are right back to the paper again. I'll try to, I'm sorry, I know I'm getting really shaky, my arm's getting tired. So in here I have all of my washi tapes and everything, but I also have like regular tapes, measure, things that are just kind of like odd that just, you know, where should I stick that? Well, there you go. That's where I stick it. Paper clips. Toys that my kids have asked me to fix. Okay. And then back over here. More inks. Inks. And I'll pull one of these out so you can see. Inks, 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 and inks. Inks, 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 and inks. Those are my alcohol markers with the color swatch books up here. This is my swatch book for, what do you call that? These are the swatches for my inks. There we go. Wow, my brain just doesn't want to work today. So this is how I go about swatching them. Like that. And then the swatches for the alcohol markers are right there. But it's where I keep my tape. Nice and handy. So there's all of the other different types of pens and stuff that I have. And then back here are all of my most used tools. So all of my favorite scissors, my glue, my stamp blocks, my go-to ink, my blending tools, bone folders, and hooky thingy, doohickey things. This is where I throw all of the backs of my tapes. These are acrylic craft paints and alchemy paints. So we are right back to where we just left off. So I'm going to back up a little bit. And then I'm going to do all of the lower half of everything all in one, because I'm going to have to crawl down on the floor, and once I'm down, it's going to be hard for me to get back up. So I'll come back around to all of this so that you can see it. Okay, so we left off up there. There's my TV and my window. It's actually a really large window, but I've blocked part of it off here. So here's the table that my husband just made. At the back of it, I've got more acrylic paints here and more acrylic paints here. I have a giant jar of rulers right here, and my paper towels and wipies. This is a flower pot my daughter made me years and years and years ago that she decided to steal back, and then she broke it, so I need to try to fix it. In here I have, at the front is my favorite punch tool thing, the We Are Memory Keepers 1, 2, 3 punch. And in the back are more of those, a different variety. And I also have my swatch book and my art journal back there. What those are when you're making flowers, the little stamens that stick out, that's what those are. This right here is a project I'm currently working on. So there's actually a piece that sits right here normally, but I took it out for a craft fair, and because there was an open space, I just decided to fill it with something else. These are all projects I'm currently working on. So my craft mat and my craft table. And then down here, this right here is my box of UFOs, or projects that I've started and haven't finished. This right here is a box of stuff that I've received in swaps that I need to use. This right here is all laces. And so, yeah, love that one. Down here, it's kind of hard to see. You'll see more when I get down on the floor. These are all books right here that I have gotten free from the library because they are messed up in some way, like the pages had gotten wet, and or the book binding has come undone, or the pages are falling out, or you know, they're just in really bad condition. So I take those books every once in a while and I repurpose them. Or in the case of like these ones down here, those are like mostly gardening books that are kind of damaged. I will take those and I will use the graphics and the pictures that are in them when I'm creating for mixed media. All right, so let's move over this way. Right back up here. That right there, I know it is not pretty, but when I decided I was going to learn to sew or teach myself to sew, I made myself my own pattern to make a dress for my daughter when she was super, super little. So that is the first pattern I ever made. The dress didn't turn out very well, but, you know, I thought it was cool and that I should hold on to it. Maybe one of these days I will like decoupage it or paint it or something to make it actually pretty, but I couldn't let it go. It was the first pattern I ever made. So right there, that is my first attempt at fabric painting. This is a painting my daughter made for me. Isn't it beautiful? So here is all multi-purpose thread. This is embroidery thread right there. Those are my most used sewing tools. This right here is a project I'm currently working on with the threads that I'm currently using. And so we'll come over this way a little bit. So in here I have more different types of thread, like heavy duty threads and embroidery threads, and or not embroidery, upholstery threads and things of that nature. And down here I have smaller rolls of different types of stabilizers. So over here, this is my baby. It is my favorite sewing machine in the whole wide world. It is also an embroidery machine. They're not connected up currently because I was sewing. And so that'll get connected back up again here soon, as soon as I finish the project that I'm working on. So there's my sewing machine. Back here is just random threads and stuff, random tools and stuff. And then above that is, you know, storage all the way up to the ceiling. So a lot of my paper projects supplies, they kind of overloaded the other side of the room, which is, I'll move over this way here. So this side of the room is generally paper projects, mixed media projects, painting projects, things of that nature are over on this side. And that's typically where I work when I do them. On this side is the sewing side. So where I do sewing and embroidery and things of that nature. But the other side kind of started overflowing. I needed more storage space for it. So it kind of took over this side as well. So everything up there is overflow storage. These right here are all projects that I purchase supplies for that I need to do that I am not motivated to do at all. Almost all of them have to do with scrapbooking or creating scrapbooks and things like that, because these all have to do with like trips and memories and things of that nature. This right here is my die cut storage. So already assembled, pre-made die cuts. Those are all in there. This right here are embellishments of different sorts, like wood embellishments and laser cut embellishments and things like that for mixed media. Those are all sewing books and a basket of ribbon that's been cut. Sewing books and crafting books. Sewing and crafting books. And then in there's 2 boxes there. Those are sewing supplies and more sewing books. And then goodies I've received from other people. These and those are all sewing patterns. Let's see what else. I think that's pretty much everything that's over here. There is a good amount of stuff below, and I will get into that as soon as I get down on the floor. So when I said that this space right here was empty and I filled it with the jars, that right there is supposed to go right there. But I pulled this out for a craft fair. So now I gotta put the back, but I have to finish the jars first. Okay, so there's kind of an overview of what it looks like down there. We'll go ahead and come over here. This is kind of a tight space, so I will try to make it fit. These 3 beautiful things are decorated boxes that I've received from friends that I absolutely love. And inside of these are, well, this one has tissue in it that I haven't opened. I refuse to open it because the box is too pretty. These 2 have various freestanding lace things that I've made and have just kind of set aside until I find something to do with them. That's all buttons. This is my daughter's scrapbook that she's been working on that kind of fell apart, so we're fixing that. And then this is ribbon storage. This as well was a DVD holder that I just kind of repurposed to hold my ribbons. And then down here, these are all Kleenex things that you can get from the store. I was going to do what she did there, and then decided that I might use these in those jars. So that's why I have those. And then below this, those right there hold broken jewelry and things like that to be used in mixed media. That one is empty, so I can add more broken jewelry. This is an organizer for photos. Like, one side has a bunch of little boxes that will hold your 4x6 photos, and then the other side is just where you can hold like large scrapbook papers. So I filled this after I got it probably 15 years ago, and I filled it within like 6 months of my daughter being born, and I still haven't gotten to any of the pictures in there. So it's really heavy, but you know, someday I will get to it. So that's where the major amount of ribbon is stored. I have more ribbon storage, and I'll get to that in a minute. So now we're going to come up this way a little bit. And now we are at the closet. There you go. It's actually a pretty big closet. It's a little bit of a walk-in, which I love. So as you walk in, you can see I've got some fabric that is sorted by color. Originally, I was just hanging my fabric like this, but so much of it was too heavy for the hangers and was constantly breaking the hangers. So I decided, oh, I'll you know, organize it all and make it nice and neat and color code it. Well, that took forever just to get that far. So it's a work in process. So there are those right there, and it kind of wraps around this way, and I have more up here like that. And then down here, still hanging, I have more fabric back there. This is the first row, and it goes all the way back there. And then down here, back in here are patterns that I've made or clothing that I made. I started off with sewing, trying to make clothing for myself and my children, and have decided I really don't like sewing clothing. I'd much rather sew bags and things of that nature. So those are clothes that I had sewn a while back. Here is a regular, I can't even reach it, a regular ironing board right there. So those are all patterns that I've created. Here's more fabric right there. And then these bags in this box right here are projects that I haven't started yet, where I went and purchased the fabric and purchased the zippers and the thread and every other thing that is required to make the project. That's what all of that is. And then here are bolts of fabric. This box right here contains empty shoe boxes. For some reason, I love empty shoe boxes, so I had to purge quite a few of them, but that's what's in there. I like to decorate them and upscale them a little bit. These are smaller bolt holders. So let me just kind of show you here. So it'll hold your fabric for smaller pieces of fabric. That's what those are for. This box is for the embroidery mechanism on my sewing machine. So when I'm not using it, I can store it safely. This is all yarn right here. And a blanket that I started crocheting right here when I was like 15 that I still haven't finished. Every once in a while I get back to it and I add more and more to the blanket, and then I get bored with it and move on to something else. All right, so over here is that tower right there, but this right here is one of those thin pantry shelves that rolls. It's supposed to fit next to like your refrigerator or whatever. I bought it from a garage sale. It was completely falling apart. I didn't really care, and so I just use it to hold small bits of fabric that are less than a yard. So there's that. One of these days I'll get it all organized and in color, but this basket right here, and then these two baskets right here, and part of this basket right here are fabric pieces that are, you know, relatively small, but are still usable. So like this. So can't really use it for like a dress or anything, but I can use it for a lot of other things. So that's what those are right there, are all smaller pieces but are still usable. Part of this is that as well. The rest of it is just stuff I need to organize and sort through, which I haven't done yet. So this tower right here, from there all the way down, are fabric and ribbon scraps that my kids are allowed to get into and use for whatever reason they want. So I'll open one. So there's just fabric scraps, whatever is left off of when I'm cutting or whatever. They are allowed to use it in any way that they want to. So that's what those are. And they're color coded just to help them. All right, here's the closet door that we kind of just bypassed. This holds plastic bags. Here's another FE that I made, and inside of it right now actually are art supplies that I'm going to be giving away or selling, or, you know, I just no longer need them, so I'm storing them there. That is a apron that my daughter used to wear when she was tiny, tiny, tiny. A purse that I need to fix. Down here is a bag I made out of a tank top. And then here's the back of the door. Those are some purses. I don't know why they're in here. They just are. And my apron that I wear when I'm getting really super messy. So behind the door, I have two more shelving things. Again, I got these at garage sales for like $2. They are in really bad shape. That's why those are there holding them together. And so this has like my overflow of like glues, and it's got my sprays and chemicals and cleaning stuff in here. Those right there are all like project patterns and information about embroidery designs and things like that. This is my baby. It is all score tape of various sizes. There's lots of it because when I find a good price, I buy it. Let's see. Those are attachments to sewing machines and feet and things like that. And then we got press and seal and saran wrap and aluminum foil, stuff like that. More yarn down here. Those are more magazines and patterns and things. I'm not sure what's in that box. I haven't touched it, so I should probably get to that. This is my daughter's sewing stuff. So like these are all fabric markers and her projects she's working on. These are flowers, like fake flowers that were purchased that I don't know what to do with, so they got stuffed right there. And then those are more sewing supplies. So there is behind the closet door. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, and these up here are sketches and plans that I made for before I moved my studio into this room of how I wanted it set up. And then that's just empty storage boxes. And then those my daughter made for me a long time ago. Aren't they cute? Okay, so we're gonna flip around this way and try to get a better view over here. So up here at the very top, that's where I keep foam padding and pillow forms and things like that. Up here, this is the cover for one of my sewing machines. These are all various empty boxes of wood and cardboard and things like that that I plan to repurpose and redecorate. Come down a little bit lower. So we've got more fabric in here, and then I'm sure this is going to blind everybody, so we'll see how this works out. So here's the door right there. When you come down, I have this lamp set up, which I'm sure that doesn't look all that great. But right here is my ironing station. This right here was my great-grandmother's sewing desk. So it had her sewing machine inside of there. And over the years, it just got beat up really bad. My aunt has the sewing machine. I kept the desk. And what I decided to do was just to staple an ironing pad over it. And that's where I do all of my ironing, is right here. Underneath it, these are different types of contact paper. This is my travel bag for when I take crafting with me when I travel. And I've got a large, what do you call those? It's cardboard. It's a large grid like this, but it's like super huge for when I need to cut patterns. So there's that, and then right next to it, there's the cords to keep everything plugged in. Got my iron and important ironing tools right here. And in there are more ironing tools. I don't know how well you can see that, I'm sorry. And below it are more tools. And then that's my tool bag of all my actual like tools, hammers, screwdrivers, Allen wrenches, all of that kind of stuff. And so now we have made it all the way around in my closet. Okay, so when you walk out of my closet, we have this area right here. This is a recent addition. It is not finished, as you can tell. So this is going to have long shelves in it, whereas these are shorter. These are 15 inches wide. This is going to be all the way across. So right now it's just the frame of the shelf, and we'll be making more shelves to put in there and everything like that, but we haven't done it yet. So in order to utilize the space, I kind of made my own shelf. This is storage that I purchased. These are really cool. You just kind of pull out the little drawer so you can put like bottles, spray bottles in there, or stickles, or, you know, ribbon or things like that. I haven't used them yet, so I just kind of use them as support for that shelf to go across right there. So up here I have, like, this is all what do you call it, tissue papers and things like that. These are all bags, like gift bags. That's all gift bags and like party supplies. This right here is all foam for die cutting. And what I mean by foam is this stuff. When you get this stuff in a package that you receive, do not throw it away. It is awesome for die cutting. Anyway, so that's what this entire bag is. Those are glass, like marble beads that you would put in like a vase. So over here, those are magnet strips, vent covers that I cut down to hold dies. This is my die cutting plates and everything like that. That is scrap paper. After I've die cut, I just shove it in there until it gets full, and then I sort through it. This is embroidery thread. This is a stuffy my kiddo made for me a long time ago. She hand sewed it, and it's awesome. Mailing supplies right there. This is paper towels. I wasn't sure if it was going to work in that location, so to test it out, I literally stapled it to the wall. So this is my die cutting area. I have my die cut machine, one of my die cut machines. I have another one is downstairs, so that when I am downstairs with the family, I can still be working on stuff. Whoops, I'm sorry about that. I really didn't mean to do that. Anyway, so that's my main die cutting machine. And over here I have some foam pieces, and I have my tape that I like to use. And I reuse them over and over and over again. I also have, this is all scraps that I can use. These are all things that I've like die cut, but I haven't like used or put away. These are like bags and stuff. Magnet sheets, wipies, tools, things like that. And a little box I made just to be a little catch-all. So this is where I do my die cutting. I just pull that out and die cut right here. Below that is some very interesting storage down here. So in this green basket here is where I keep things like Post-it notes and pencils and pens and binder clips and different sizes of notebooks and things like that that I will repurpose and use in things that I create. This one right here, well, all of these, because this area is my die cutting station, I had all of my dies organized the same way that I have my stamps organized. But I realized that they then became too heavy for me to lift off of this shelf once the shelf was made. So I couldn't lift them off to bring them down to find the die that I wanted and then lift them back up to put them away. So I had to rethink my storage. And so what I did was I came up with these drawers here. So I'm going to open just one or two. I'm sorry for this. So in here are all of my dies, and they are set up the same way that my stamps are set up. I don't think of company, I think of the subject. So when I am looking for animals, I'm going to look for a particular spot. So I keep all of those things together. All of my flowers are together, all of my sentiments are together, all of my Christmas is together, and so on. So these are all dies right here. And then these are all embossing folders. And then this top drawer right here are all dies and embossing folders I have not organized yet. As well as that box on the floor. Those are all dies I have not organized yet either. The reason this box is down here on the floor is because when I have to be downstairs and can't be up here working on stuff, I just take that box downstairs with me, and I have a die cutting machine downstairs so I can organize them downstairs. All right, next to that, this is all wrapping paper stuffed back in there. These are larger shipping boxes right here. That is my little sweeper brush and that. Okay, so this right here are my dishwashing tubs that I use for soaking things. So like my, or when I'm gonna be messy or whatever, I use those tubs. And then I have these drawers down here, which this has like replacement blades for things like my cutters or razor blades or things of that nature. This has like book rings and thumbtacks and things like that. This is all envelopes. And then down here, in these last two down here, are like more ribbons and strings of that nature. So like twines and stuff are down here. All right. And then, sorry, I'm trying not to shake too much. This area. This is where my kids get to create. And I know that this is all unfinished here. It's not done. It's just, we've jerry-rigged it so that we can use the space until it is finished. So like the countertops aren't fit and they're not attached or anything like that. There's no shelves in there or anything like that. I'm perfectly aware of that. It's a work in progress. So until it does get finished, this is how we're able to use it. But there's usually another chair right here, and my kids can create and make as big of a mess as they want. This is where they hang some of their artwork, is up here. And then down here is all of the storage for their things down here. My daughter is very into fashion design, so we got her her own dress form. She did not make that, I did, and then I hated it, and so I never finished it, and so we just put it on the dress form so it's dressed. So that is their area. This is a whiteboard that I created for myself to try to keep track of things. I never actually look at it, so I think the last time, let's actually look at the date. April. So yeah, I don't actually use it for that, so I need to find a better purpose for it. And then we are back to this part of the room. All right, so let's really quickly, because this video is getting quite long, we'll go through the down low areas real quick. So down here, I'm gonna get down on the floor here. Okay, so this is my bucket of scraps. This is what I started storing all of my scraps in, and then of course, you know, it didn't take long to overflow. So what I've done instead is I've got all of these for all of my scraps, and they're all color coded. So I'm converting those into that. Along the side here are rolls of different things, like this is chalkboard stuff, and then these are wall decals and textured paper, and yeah, rolls of stuff in there. I have an extra ream of Nina paper in there. This is just regular copy paper that my kids can just come and grab a piece whenever they want. Down here is my box for my fuse tool. So that's where that stuff is kept. From here over, this is just extra storage for baggies and my business cards and my scale and things like that. This is how I store my 12 by 12 solid colored cardstock, and some of the patterned cardstock is in there. When I first started paper crafting, I would buy the big books of patterned paper, and I would tear them apart and store them with, because my mind thinks in colors rather than the manufacturer or the brand name of the book. So I would pull them all apart, and the pages that are more pink versus, Any other color got stored with pink cardstock. So that's how that is all stored. Okay, over here, this is still underneath my counter. I have one of those carts. This one I think is from Michael's. In here, I was originally storing my 6x6 paper sets. So I would get the 6x6 pad and all of the embellishments that would go with it. And then it just got overflowing. And so I have found a different solution for that, but I'm not finished moving that all over. So that's where that sits for the moment. I'm going to move it out of the way so you can see what's behind it. So hold on. Okay, so I have moved the cart out of the way, and behind it we have an area back in there, and that is where I keep chipboard and larger items. Like there's a frame back there that I can't fit anywhere else, but that is almost all chipboard. Over here are chipboard and canvases and more canvases, and then we've got like acetate. Wow, did it get blurry? Sorry. We've got acetate and foam sheets and watercolor and different types of drawing paper and mixed media paper and things of that nature. Down here is more chipboard, more canvases. And then in here, this is where I keep my favorite trimmer, and I've got deli paper and baggies and saran wrap. These two, or this one right here, is extra baggies. This one is like, they're kind of like stencils, but they're for paper piercing. This has like extra stamp pads, and you can see the pouncers there, and different forms of like embossing glues and things of that nature are in there. Down here are like rubber gloves and more like parchment paper and things of that nature in there. And down here is all different types of adhesive, all different types of tapes, all different types of glues. And I'm still kind of organizing that with some of the other areas that I've got glues set up at. Along the side here, I have my other paper trimmers. So I've got my monster one, and I've got my tonic one that is 12x6. And then I've got an even smaller one right there. That's the Tim Holtz guillotine one. And then, but my favorite one is right there. That's the one I use the most. Okay, so we're gonna turn this way a little bit. I'm sorry, it's shaky. So this is the monster table in the middle of the room. So this is the shelf immediately below it. Back here, this is a box of stuff for craft fairs. In here, this is a box of the 12x12 paper books. This is 12x12 and 8.5, 11 by 11 paper, either loose paper that I need to categorize, or yeah, it's almost all loose paper that I need to like categorize and put away. And then this is a 8.5 by 11 paper book, and then some larger scraps for projects and stuff. And then down below it, that box right there are 6x6 paper pads with accessories that go with them. So like ephemera and tags and bling and everything that goes with it. Same with that one, and same with that one. So like, I'll actually grab one of these. So it's got the, well, this one's actually the, what, 6x8 paper pad, but it's got all the stickers and the bling and everything that goes with it. So that's what those 3 boxes are. So I had all of those and tried to keep them crammed in with the cart and everything that's already still in the cart. I couldn't fit it all, so that's where the overflow went, is right there. And then right next to it, I have these 2 bins, which are the 8.5 by 11 books of either cardstock or pattern paper. So that's what is on that side. I'm going to curl around to the other side so we can take a look at that. Okay, so we are now on the other side. Here's the sewing bench right there. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of swing around this way. So there's the sewing bench right there. Right here I've got a tray, and this has like fabric on it. Those are embroidered pieces that were test pieces. And then right here is a strange spot to store them, but those are like card sleeves and the sleeves I use for storing my dies and my stamps and things like that. And then this right here is a canvas somebody else made for me. And then I've got some embroidered pieces sitting there. And then, whoops, sorry. These are frames that I intend to do something with. I just don't know what. This is like copy paper and file folders and things of that nature. Over here are like drawing books and coloring books, and then these are like scrapbook page protectors and things like that. Up here is where my foot pedal for my machine is. I just drop it down to the floor, and that is for like little scraps and stuff of fabric. Now I'm gonna move again to get a little bit closer, so just a second. Okay, so in this bin is where I keep stabilizers of different sorts. So different stabilizers, all different sorts. If I bought it by the yard, then this is where it ends up, and it's in baggies, so I know what it is. And then down here, this is my backup sewing machine, and that is my daughter's sewing machine right there. Here is the tray that's supposed to be sitting up on the table, but it is not at the moment. Behind it are my reams of different stabilizers. Those are not reams. These are my bolts of different stabilizers right in here. It's hard to see back in there, but the giant case right there is the sewing table that attaches to my sewing machine so that everything is on an even level. And then right up here, this whole box here is nothing but seam bindings and seam laces and things like that. These couple of drawers are empty, and then we've got little sewing gadgets and zippers and elastic and sewing tools and things like that right in there. Okay, I'm going to turn again and go this way. Sorry about that. So all of this back in here and all of this up here is all for craft fairs. So when I go to craft fairs, all of this comes out. And then these right here are bins for card sales at craft fairs. So the back of this is the back of the paper pads and stuff that we looked at a minute ago. And then down here, this box right here is my spray box that I pull out whenever I need to do any messy sprays or anything like spray painting or spray adhesives or anything like that. I use that box and I take it outside. I do not do it in here. This right here is a big old bin that I drop fabric scraps into to be sorted through later. So right now it has these fabric bags that sheets come in. So that's what's in there right now. And then the books that we were talking about before. And so there you have it. That is a brief kind of rundown of my studio. Tell me what you guys think. Let me know if you like it. I'm super proud that it's like somewhat pretty at the moment. That won't last long. I tend to get pretty messy when I'm creating. But let me know what you think. Also, let me know if you want me to do a more in-depth tour of what's in every drawer and what's in every box and all of that. Like I said, that will be a really long video, so it'll have to be broken up into multiple videos. But again, let me know what you think. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks, Art Matey. Bye.